guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we are starting off with my sketchbook very briefly, as I wanted to show you guys at least a glimpse of what I do for thumbnailing before I start making a mini comic, because that is what we are going to be working on today. So I do find it a lot easier for myself to quickly sketch things out and get things on paper than it is to do it digitally. So I like to do a lot of my thumbnailing usually in my sketchbook, and then I will reference it as we draw in Clip Studio Paint, which we'll move on shortly right now so that we can set up for our comic. So I do find that Clip Studio Paint is usually perfect for me to use to make comics, because they do have like a particular way you can format things. So I'm using their comic setting in here. I always debate if I want to use comic or if I want to use webcomic or webtoon, but we're just going to stick with the normal pages. I initially started off with 22 pages. I believe this is formatted for like about an A5 size, so about 5x7 for our format. So other than that, we're just going to go right ahead and start to sketch. So I'm using the Sue Cream pencil, which is one of my favorite kind of like brushes to sketch with if I know I'm going to be doing color and line art at some point. Otherwise, I probably would opt for something a little bit more softer. So because of the majority of today's video is going to be talking about the process of making the comic, we'll kind of like jump back in and out talking about the actual like, sketching process, line art process, and coloring process, as I have like bits and bobs of recording for each part. But if you can read the bottom of our comic page, you can kind of see that it says Tomodachi Life Confession at the very bottom as our title, because I'm going to be illustrating what I would consider one of the strangest love squares, maybe, in my Tomodachi Life island. So this comic is going to be based off of what I asked you guys to do in a poll, I think a little over a month ago, to choose who you think Masaki has chosen to be sweethearts with on my Tomodachi Life island. So to kind of like fully catch you guys up, if you haven't been hearing like little bits and bobs from my Instagram stories, or when I talk about it on live streams, or when I've talked about it in sometimes like sketchbook videos, ever since Tomodachi Life came out, I made it a mission to do kind of like a crackship island of my OCs, meaning that I am basically throwing all of their romance, or I guess like love interest preferences out the window. This is not canon by any means, and I'm letting them date whoever they want to date, minus Koji and Anka are obviously kids, so they're in their own section, while everyone else I made 20 plus so that they can date whoever they would like, and I'm not going to technically interfere. And because of that, we've had like a very funny predicament where I probably explain it more towards the end visually, so if you guys don't understand it at this point, it's okay, but I'm going to quickly run through it so this comic will actually make some sense. So basically, in my Tomodachi Life island, Selwyn has a crush on Masaki, and so does Kaisen, and Masaki, I think, has a crush on Kaisen in the very beginning and then falls for Selwyn. I usually choose the second preference for their crush regardless, because like I said, I don't want to interfere. So at this point in time where we're having our confessions, Masaki and Selwyn technically have a mutual crush on each other, while Kaisen also has a crush on Masaki. But at some point, Selwyn has decided to take it upon himself to confess to Masaki, which is what I am mostly illustrating at the very beginning of here. But as you can see, we've had an interruption, according to my sketch. So usually confessions, I think you can have like a one-on-one, but I feel like in this particular Tomodachi Life, which is basically my first time playing Tomodachi Life in general, I never played it on the 3DS, so I'm not too sure how chaotic it typically is, but other me's technically can interfere. And I already kind of knew that Kaisen probably would interfere with Selwyn's confession, because he already has a crush on Masaki, but there is a surprise contender, which is my OC Moriko. And on my little community poll, I asked you guys who you think Masaki would choose. And I believe the ranking was Kaisen first, because I know a lot of you guys like Kaisen and Masaki together. And then second was Selwyn, with Moriko not too far behind. So at this point, if you guys are just listening to the audio or watching the video up until this point and you still haven't put in your vote on who you think Masaki is going to choose, feel free to put your prediction in a comment right now and then edit it later to see whether or not you were correct, which I'll be showing you guys after we doing like the coloring portion of the comic making. But this particular scene, unfortunately, I didn't record the whole entire thing, which I will show as many clips and stuff to give you guys context at the very end, after I show you guys like the process, the full comic, and then I'll show you bits and bobs of my Tomodachi Life island here and there. But I feel like it's very funny. Like this scene in particular always lives very much rent-free, but I think it's mostly because I find Kaisen so endearing on my Tomodachi Life island, because I don't know if it's because he's more out of character that it's more fun to watch him, but I'm usually following him on the island typically, which I think is a mistake because it puts him in a very much like weird predicaments, which I don't know how to explain, and I will probably explain in another video, but I'll show you guys a glimpse of it also at the very end when I show you guys clips and stuff, because this boy, he's been giving me so many headaches and frustrations on this island. I'm about to like throw him off a cliff. I think the easiest way to describe Kaisen specifically on my island is boy failure. I do think that Selwyn doesn't fall too far behind in terms of like the way they act, but I don't know, like Selwyn's a little bit more like shy. I don't know. Yeah, I think he's more like a shy type on my island. I don't know if that's just how it happened and like the preferences that I just ended up choosing. So he's a little bit more meek. So I find it a little bit more endearing in that sense, while Kaisen seems like an entire menace on his own. So yeah, that's kind of like how I'm gonna wrap it up in terms of catching you guys up with the comic. Because like I said, I don't want to spoil who exactly Masaki picks until we get through the coloring process. So for now, I'm going to talk either very vaguely about my Tomodachi Life island, or we're just going to talk purely about the drawing process and my thoughts about that for now. So like I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, I like to have my thumbnails done traditionally for two reasons. One I mentioned is that it's just very much faster for me to scribble down things, do thumbnailing when it's done traditionally. I think it's because mostly I don't have the ability to redo and undo super easily. I also don't have other tools to like really fiddle with, like the transformation tool, the lasso tool, liquefying, all that. And I don't have the ability to zoom in and out. So it makes decisions and stuff very quick for me to put it down on paper. But this time, because I was low-key referencing technically clips that I had from my game, I did not make like much sense of my thumbnails. I just did like very, 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 very rough and general pages and like formatting for the most part. But I also find it physically, like having it done traditionally, and in the past I've always done them on post-it notes so that I could stick them to my screen while I work on drawing the rough sketch on my tablet. So that way I can have both in the same view without having to flip back and forth. So that's kind of the nice thing also, is just having it physically in my space rather than having to flip through it in a window, which you'll see a little bit later once I have to do coloring and stuff, that I have so many windows open. Oh, also, I thought it'd be better to switch these two pages. So I ended up cutting one page and putting it right after and just switching them. So if it was like page 3 and page 4, I switched them so it'll go 4 and then 3. I just think it would help a little bit with pacing. I don't think I'm super good at, in general, doing comics, so I don't know how well these read in general in terms of like the flow of the paneling as well as the text. So apologies that things might be also just very rough and rigid feeling in terms of the flow. With that being said, part of it is because that I want to condense everything as much as I can, because having already 20 panels, pages, whichever, is already very difficult for me to handle. But after we finished working on this sketch, I went ahead and changed my sketches to be blue. So you saw me kind of zoom in on the screen earlier and click on something that allows you to change the layer color to be a very specific color. I think it's defaulted to kind of this mid-tone, what I would consider like a photo blue. If you had to use like blue lead on paper in real life, you could use that so that when you're doing line art and inking, it's a lot easier for you to see. After that, we start doing our pages paneling, I guess, in the borders. So luckily Clip Studio Paint makes it super easy. And one thing I did not know is that if I stick my sketch within my very first, I guess like the box when you make the panel initially, and then put your sketch in it, if you decide to break up the box and split them to create your frames, your sketch will also be divvied up into each individual folder as well, which I find super, super helpful. After that, I went ahead and started to do the line art, which I ended up cutting a big portion of me just running through, again, all the brushes that I own, trying to figure out what kind of pen that I wanted to use for line art. Now, I ended up using, I think this is the INJI pen, and I've used this one in the past and I actually really like it. I just don't know if I liked it for today's like comic making. So it does have a little bit of a taper, but for the most part, if you keep like an even pressure, it has almost no line weight difference, which you can see here while I'm working on like this little Selwyn panel that I ended up putting manually some line width variation. We added a little bit of shadows and just to create some depth. I will very easily soon drop that for every other panel and frame later because it was just too much time and effort for something that I think would not really benefit too much in terms of visually for the comic, or for at least like what I was initially going for, which I didn't really talk about actually. So if you've seen any of my past like comic making videos, which I feel like I always follow the same steps. I do my roughs in my sketchbook. I end up doing, or not my roughs, I do my thumbnails in my sketchbook. I do the roughs digitally. We change and lower the opacity, do our lining, and then do some sort of color or some sort of tone or shading or whatever we want to do for kind of like our final way of adding values. And I feel like the last few ones that I've done that were more like chibis, I did full color and I kept things very, very simple, which you'll see a little bit later, but I ended up kind of like going back and forth. Did I want to go full chibi for the entire comic, which I feel like would fit the best in terms of interpreting the Tomodachi Life kind of style for the most part. But a part of me also thought it would be fun to make them not chibi because it will be kind of like the opposite end of doing the style differently from how the Miis are presented. The Miis are like very much like simplified or however you want to do for like painting over their faces or whatever, how you want to interpret them. But for the most part, they're kind of like chibi-esque in terms of like their proportions and stuff, typically having like a larger bobblehead, simplified forms for their body and their proportionings. Like they don't go super into realistic body proportions, so I feel like chibis were just like an easier route to go. But I decided to just like mix and match at this point. So some frames which I want a little bit more either seriousness or making it feel more dramatic, I went with more of my regular style, and then anything that's like cutesy or funny, I will go with more of the chibis. So we'll kind of go like back and forth from the two of them. I kind of wish I gave myself more time. I think you guys know that I'm a bit strapped for time this weekend, hence this video being a little bit late. But some of the frames that I did for Kaisen, I'm just not a fan of. I think Salwin was pretty okay. Moriko was okay, but some of Kaisen's, he just looks so baby and younger. I wish I, made him look a little bit more like himself, if anything. But once we have our line art done, we are moving on to text. Now, I don't want to add any spoilers again for the text, so there's only some portions that I will show. Like on the very bottom, I ended up blacking out who Masaki ended up choosing because I will show you guys after the coloring portion. So after we get all the text done, I can prepare for coloring. So luckily, the way that Clip Studio Paint does make the frames and the borders, they separate things in like their own folders, so it makes coloring a lot easier. I've also chose chibi versions of all the OCs that are present in today's comic from my previous comic that I did for Valentine's Day, because luckily I drew them all for that. So I can easily color pick and kind of keep the style somewhat consistent, because I was heavily debating whether or not I was going to go with one style or the other. I was already pretty much leaning towards doing chibi style because of how easy I can do the coloring. So you're going to see there is going to be a little bit of a slight difference in terms of how I approach the coloring for between the chibi ones and then the normal kind of style, or I'm going to deem it normal, but it's all of it has very much like simplified shading and highlights. So skin, I ended up just doing a skin shadow, a little bit of blush here and there, and then no highlights. And then eyes, I will color directly onto my line art to do kind of like my derpy eye style, which is coloring the bottom half of the eye color, dropping in a white kind of like pupil or a giant highlight, whichever you want to call it, and then moving on to hair and clothing. So for the hair, I did add a little bit of an airbrush of their skin tone to the bangs or any hair that surrounds the face, just to soften it. And then I'll merge that layer together and merge it with the clothing layer as well, so that I can do all my shadows and shading with just a multiply layer with a very light kind of like lavender purple color. And then for our highlights, I set that layer to screen mode and I use kind of like a yellow mid-tone-ish color, and then it kind of works for both the highlights as well as just, you know, rim lighting, whichever you want to call it for the clothing. So for the highlights for the chibis, I kept them very simple, did pretty much a little bit of rim lighting on certain areas, and then kind of like a little bit of like a dot and a circle, whichever you want to call it, across, just to keep everything nice and cute and kind of round. Then for the normal style, I guess, or like my usual style, I would consider, we get a little bit more detail because I didn't want it to read entirely flat. Otherwise, I could have just went the route of just making them all chibis. So for the eyes, I ended up not coloring directly onto the iris or like the line art layer itself. I made a new layer. We fill in our iris color. I will alpha lock that and layer clip every other color to that layer so that we can make the eyes pop a little bit more. In terms of the layers that I use for the clothing and the hair, they're pretty much the same, but I am adding a little bit more details. So basically for the chibis, I kind of do a horizontal rounded like strip going all the way across, making the bottom half of the hair just dark and then the crown of the head kind of like lighter, and that's where like majority of my highlights would kind of like live, basically. But for these normal styles, I decided to put in more of like the hair shadows, bunching them up into different sections, and then using the lasso tool to help me do the highlights so that it's not just the little circle dot blobs at the very top. We kind of have a little bit of texture here and there. And then for the background, for things that I didn't really want to give too much context for, in terms of, I think the confession, it happened on the beach, so you can kind of see like is it the Tomoria? I forget what the family restaurant is called. You can see it in the background sometimes, as well as like the central fountain thing, but we're basically residing on the beach in terms of where the confession takes place. And I didn't want to always do like a sky background or have the background entirely made all the time. And because it's more like confession, kind of love and nerves and stuff, I always love kind of like that faded, sparkly pink background they put whenever a me falls in love. So I decided to most likely replace our white background with the gradation tool in the back, so that we have kind of like either white to pink or pink to transparent in the background, just to give it a little bit of color. But only some panels will actually have like a proper drawn-ish background that I will blur so that it keeps in the back, and then our figures are nice and in front, right in focus. But I think coloring, I underestimated how much time it was actually going to take me. So sketching went by, I think it was under 2 hours. It was about like an hour and a half for the sketching portion. That one I should have taken more time to actually flesh out everything. I think that's kind of the reason why Kaisen didn't really look like himself, because when I'm doing the line arting, I can deviate away from my sketch, but it does make it a little bit, I guess, slower and a lot more thinking, because like Kaisen looks so funny in some of these panels. And I know it's because I didn't take my time to do proper sketches, which in the future I will allocate more time for myself so that I will not have to rush through every single step. And then I don't have to cram everything in one day, because I basically did the comic all in one day and was not able to finish, and then had errands to do the next day, was not able to finish the editing. And then this is where we are right now. So I kind of crammed everything into one day for some reason. But for the most part, the coloring, I think I colored as fast as I could in terms of process. It's just that 20 pages was a lot for me to color, and having to do the back and forth. I think it would have been easier for me to either make a new color palette, like in the kind of like upper right hand corner on my canvas. You can kind of see like a bunch of colorful squares. That's like my color palette. And I should have made a new one because I usually use that specific one when I'm doing like a lot of my chibi illustrations anyways, but it looks so disorganized that I feel like I didn't know which colors I was going to use. So I kept color picking from the different canvases. Now in Paint Tool Sai, it does not have like a separate, I feel like it's like a two-step in Clip Studio Paint, while in Paint Tool Sai it's like a one-step. So if you hover from one canvas to another, like you have them open side by side, if you color pick from canvas 1 to canvas 2, it doesn't require you to click on canvas 2 and then color pick. It just color picks like immediately. But in Clip Studio Paint, I feel like it requires you to click on the canvas to know where it's color picking from, then you color pick, and then you have to click back onto your other canvas to use it. And because of that, sometimes I accidentally, I don't know if it's like I'm clicking and dragging, and it will pick up typically the line art color, which happens to be black, and I will often pick up the wrong color and just drag and drop it. So that's like one thing I kind of wish that maybe I should have done panels that I knew had like, I guess like even this panel, it has Moriko, it has Kaisen, it has Selwyn. All I would need is technically Masaki. So there's that other panel that has like the triple pose with Masaki. I should have just done that panel first, get all the colors, and then drop them into the color palette and then have it ready for me to use. It'll be like much quicker. But this is the drawing portion finished, so let me recap. Kaisen has a crush on Masaki very early on. Masaki then has a crush on Selwyn around the same time, and at some point, Selwyn has reciprocated the crush with Masaki, but they have not confessed at this point. Later on, Masaki also falls for Kaisen, and like I mentioned earlier, I will always pick the second choice because I do not interfere, and this is where things go downhill. Selwyn decides to confess. So at this point, I'll let you guys read it and I'll come back. So does Kaisen's love story end here? So I will explain Kaisen a little bit more. I'm gonna show you guys the footage from my game file right here so get a better idea.
I want to make all sorts of memories with you here on wonderful Carrot Land. I like you. No, I love you. Go out with me.
Hold it right there. The one who truly loves Masaki is me.
Hold it right there. Well, the one who truly, deeply loves Masaki is me.
I confessed my feelings first. That means I love Masaki the most.
Masaki, Which of us do you choose?
Pick one of us, once and for all. Moriko, I'd love to go out.
Sorry that it got cut off. I am actually not super familiar with the screenshotting function on my Switch 2, so I have many clips that are just like cut off randomly. So Masaki did end up choosing Moriko. Unfortunate for people who were rooting for Selwyn or they were rooting for Kaisen. I will now show you guys basically the little aftermath, which I did illustrate a little bit, but it's just these two complaining because I was trying to look for Kaisen. Look at him.
I give up.
And here comes Selwyn.
Masaki, I miss you and your lovely
Masaki,
greetings.
I miss how you look so happy when you're eating.
Masaki, I loved you so much.
Masaki, you're such a meanie.
Masaki, you're such a
Masaki,
meanie.
I miss how you
So
look
even though
so
these two are
happy when you're eating.
suffering, it did create a very cute moment later because you can get some people like to drop and try to cheer up some of your Miis. So I decided to choose Koji. I find this so cute.
Bird droppings are most likely to fall on you when you're already having a bad day. In the marathon of life, remember to take some time to run in place.
So yeah, that's kind of the end of that entire confession debacle, whatever you want to call it. But Kaisen has many, many things ahead on the horizon for him, which I can't even say it's like boy failure because Selwyn here also ended up falling for Moriko, who happens to be in the relationship with Masaki. But Kaisen, at some point, I don't really remember, fell for Masaki, but ended up also liking Sato. But that was very short-lived as Sato ended up getting married. But, okay, I don't remember. So this will be technically, I think, the third one, which I'm going to explain. So for some reason, you know, Kaisen was interested in seeing what Sato was doing, had this interaction. So Masaki was in the same vicinity, but I don't know what triggered it per se. Look, so Kaisen's sad. So I ended up, you know, talking to him. We'll give him his head pats, and then he'll be on his merry way. But soon after that,
My mind was
I was
somewhere
confused
else.
on who this could be. And lo and behold, it is Masaki once again. So this is Kaisen's third crush on Masaki, okay? Third.
Yeah,
Which is why I think at this point
Okay.
is when I ended up making the illustration in my sketchbook of like go for it Kaisen, because this guy's going for it all right. He's on his third attempt. But
Well,
oh my god,
the
this
truth
part
is,
this part also upsets me.
Yeah,
I've always thought you give pretty good
He's
relationship
such a
advice.
boy failure. I'm so sorry, Kaisen.
what?
Can I come to you for advice from time to time?
Oh,
He's like, okay.
sure.
Alright, but yeah.
Sad.
I also ended up giving him the little love book because his life is entirely surrounded by his non-requited crush on Masaki. Right now he's on round 3 for you guys, but I can tell you it does not stop there. So I'm gonna talk about it probably on Wednesday, where I might illustrate his second and third confession. I won't tell you who, but you know, there's a lot of things going on for Kaisen right now, and it's driving me up the wall. Yeah, hopefully that catches you guys up to a certain degree. I'll leave some funny clips at the very end, like me doing maracas with my 2 sons, so Selwyn and Masaki right here. I'm dressed as a milk tea and have sprout on my head because I think it's just funny. And then I have one more clip. Or no, I have a few clips. The breakdancing in this game is so funny, or like the dancing. So I have Arakan on my island too. Which does not help because I think at this point he likes Kaisen and Selwyn has gotten rid of his crush on Moriko and likes Arakan. So there's a whole new love triangle on this island right now, which is why. But if you guys are also doing like crack ships or you're making your Miis fall for whoever they want on their island, let me know how that's going. Because for me, Kaisen, you're a boy failure to me. As much as I love you, he's so fun to tease and so funny. I'll try to keep you guys updated every so often. It might be in my more like long session sketchbook videos where I will talk more about my Tomodachi life if it is like OC centered. If not, I don't know. I've debated if I wanted to stream me playing Tomodachi Life, but for the most part, I've been enjoying it in on my own time, I guess. Here's our crazy friend group. I don't know what you want to call it. It's supposed to be a friend group, but look at this. All of them hanging out. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys, and watching me make the comic. And I'll talk to you guys probably next time in the next video, which will be on Wednesday and might be Tomodachi Life centered again around Kaisen. We'll see. Bye!
Don't open your eyes yet.
It's so cozy. Aw.
I was thinking about something else. I've discovered a mystery since.
Yum. It's so food.
After she stepped in something unmentionable. Following an hours-long candle ceremony and a reading from Sato's favorite comic book, everyone joined hands and shouted, "Get over it!" Wiping tears from her eyes, Sato was on record as whispering, "You guys are real friends, but also kinda mean." We asked residents for their reactions. I'm not really interested. Okay, then. Thanks for watching. I'm Moriko, and this has been the 9 o'clock news. Frontier Burger? Hostility. Oh. Hey, from what? Well, we're on the